Well, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. You join me today on a very windy and possibly rainy UK day as usual. Today's video has been requested by Billy Pringle, and Billy's asked how to change the headlight bulb on the front of these cars. Now, just a couple of tips before we start. First of all, make sure you get yourself a headlight bulb in advance. You don't want to have stuff all stripped down all over the garage, then go to pick up your bulb, find they haven't got one, and before long bits are being lost all over the place. A quick tip on the headlight bulb itself. If you see this is a genuine Mitsubishi bulb, well, I can tell you right now there's no such thing. What you're actually getting is a nice box and a Mitsubishi part number. If you look inside the box, you're going to see a bulb that's not made by Mitsubishi, and I'll try not to drop this. The bulb itself is actually made by a company called Sylvania, and you can pick up these bulbs from any auto parts store. It's a regular bulb. It's been used in lots of cars, especially during the 80s. The G20 day vans and Ford made day vans that used them, Chevy made day vans, Dodge made day vans. I believe it's the same bulb in the DeLorean car. So you're going to be able to get hold of these really easily, and if you get it from a regular auto parts store rather than Mitsubishi themselves, you're going to pay a fraction of the price. I'm sorry about that, Mitsubishi. I know you want to sell your parts and make money, but you've got to be realistic with your customers. Charge us a sensible price and we'll get them from you. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is the tools you're going to need for today's job. Now, it's a relatively simple job and you're only going to need some simple tools. Now, as previously, you're going to need your trim tool. This is quite a common tool to be needing, and you can buy a whole pack of different ones for just a couple of pounds. And you're going to need, ideally, certainly one stubby screwdriver, but it helps a bit if you've got a larger one as well for some of those hard, tight screws to get at. So let's start the job from the front here. Now, the headlamp unit comes in 3 pieces, and you're going to need to remove all 3 pieces in order to get the bulb out. Initially, you're going to remove the top, which comprises of 5 screws. So let's grab a Phillips screwdriver. Our first one's here. Then we come to the front. One here. Another one here. Then we come round this side. We have one just round here. Of course, trying all the time not to drop them. And then round to the back. You've got one just round here. I hope you can see that. Our light's not too good. Now, I should explain for those of you that have noticed all the junk all around this car. This car is my own first car that I ever bought, my first 3000 GT, and it's parked in my garage at home, which is absolutely full of everything because it's winter. So please excuse the mess. Okay, now your 5 screws are out. Down the side here, you've got a plastic stud, which is the remaining part holding this. And this is literally just a push-in stud. So all you need to do is get your fingers behind the plastic, put a finger in the front to stop it flying off somewhere, and just pull gently, and that stud will pull out and allow the first section to drop down. Now, the next thing we need to remove is the next piece of plastic down here. So you've got one screw round the side here, and then on the other side you've got 2 screws here. But here's where the juggling act comes in. You can't get that screw out while this is in the way, and you can't get that out the way until this is out the way. But you can't get this out the way until that is out the way. So here's the way we're going to do it. First of all, you come to this screw on the side here, and by removing that screw, it will allow you to move this piece of plastic out the way to get access to the screw behind for this top cover. So now we'll remove this screw, Now, a word of warning, often these screws are very rusted in through years and years of being out in the elements. So make sure you've got yourself a really good gripping screwdriver, not one that's worn on the tip and is going to round the screw off. So that's one. Now the second one on the top cover. Now we move to the other side. One here. And one here. Now I should have said at the start, before you start this job, put your headlamps up and disconnect the battery. The reason you need to disconnect the battery, although there's not much chance of actually doing any electrical problems, just in case something goes wrong and this goes down. The motor's very powerful, and if it traps your fingers in there, you're going to have big problems. So now we've got all 4 screws out that hold the top part. You may notice when you try to lift it off that there are some clips in the way. I don't know if I can point these out. You've got one in here and then one round the other side. This one here. So you're going to have to sort of just gently lift that out. Now we'll try this side first. Okay, this side works better. So bring this side out first, and then you can take that off like so. And we'll put that out the way so it doesn't get damaged. Okay, now that allows us to remove the first section that we unbolted. And then finally, we can get to the 2 screws down here and remove the 3rd section. And now we have full access to the light. So once again, a warning with these screws tend to rust in really badly, so make sure you've got yourself a really good screwdriver for those as well. Now by starting with the top ones, there's less chance of you taking out the bottom ones and the light dropping down. So we'll take out the 2 top ones first. I'll drop that one, we'll get that in a minute. So just support your bulb while you pull that out. Put that to one side. And now your bulb's free to come out. Now don't pull too hard or too quick because there's cables behind that plug into it. So pull it round to the side, work your bulb out. So there you go, that's the easy part done, removing the bulb. Now there's nothing actually wrong with this bulb, I've purely taken this out for a demonstration. So I'm going to be putting the same bulb back into the car. But before I do, it may be of interest to some of you if you're one of those people that's starting to value your car more and more and you want to keep it in good condition for the future. Now might be the time to take the headlamp cluster out, all the motors and mechanisms, so you can clean underneath, get all the leaves and muck out of the car before you put it back together. In order to do that, it's quite a simple process. You've got 2 bolts on the top here with a 12mm head. And then you've got 2 down here, one here and one down in there. Just remove those 4 bolts unplug these two plugs here, and this whole assembly will come out, make it nice and easy for you to clean behind. Okay, so now we start with reassembly, and you're going to start by plugging your bulb back in. It's quite simple. Just remember to line up the 3 spade terminals with the 3 terminals on the bulb. Quite easy. Push it all the way home, nice and clean. Now the next thing is the bulb itself. Now when you go to push that back in, I can feel resistance there. There shouldn't be that resistance, so that means the cable's trapped behind, and you can just look behind to make sure that it's not trapped in any way, and then your bulb should literally just fall in without any resistance. Hold it there while you grab your chrome bezel. Now at this point, normally I would say put the screws in down the bottom, but because it's difficult to get to those with your fingers to put the screws in, I would suggest on this occasion put the screw back in at the top first. Now, it's a very cold day here in England, so this is going to be a bit of a problem for me to hold on to the screw while I'm putting it in. Let me swap fingers. In fact, it's damn near impossible. There we go. Okay, then grab your screwdriver. Now at this point, do not do the screw up tightly. Just get it to the point where you can still, like I said, it's a really cold day. Just get it to the point where it will hold the bezel in place but allow you to still move it with your fingers. Now the reason for this is if you tighten it up now when one of the other screw holes are out of place, then it means in order to get it into place you've got to bend the metal, and you don't want to do that. And at this point I'm just going to give you another tip as well. When you reassemble these things, if you put some sort of protection on the screws, now here in the UK we use copper grease. It's a grease with a very, very fine copper powder in it, and it stops the screws seizing in place. Now I've tried to buy this in the States before when I've worked on cars out there, and they looked at me like I was crazy, so I'm guessing you don't have copper grease. Over there they told me to use silicone grease, so it'll be up to you. Anything that'll protect the screw from rusting. So now we'll try and get this one in. And I'm missing the hole here. My wife says that all the time. There we go. Screw number 3. It's a bit of a tight spot down there. As you can see, it is possible to do it if you want to save yourself some time. But if you prefer, you can always remove this lens to give you better access. And if you watch one of my previous videos, you'll find out exactly how to do that. And screw number 4. Now with all 4 screws in place, you can now do them up properly. But don't do them really, really tight, because that'll just make sure that they can't be undone in the future. Just nip them up so they're not likely to come loose. Okay, now we're back to the last section of plastic that we took off, and we're going to start with that one. Once you're all lined up, you're going to need your screws. Now at this time we're only going to put the 2 on this side. Keep checking all the time to make sure it's all lined up correctly. And again, this is plastic, and of course plastic is getting brittle now on these cars, so you don't want to do it up too tight. Just a very gentle nip to stop them working loose or anything rattling around. Now you need the middle piece of plastic and this one is just literally going to drop down to the bottom at this point. And then finally you need your metal top. Now if you remember, I had a bit of a problem getting this off because I forgot that this side goes on first. You need that little plastic clip there to go through the hole, and then you bring it around this side and work around under there. Okay, as with the other screws, a little bit of grease on the thread because it's metal on metal, it'll stop it rusting. And you're going to move down this piece of plastic here so you can get to the screw. And I'm about to drop that one. Let's start again. You see, not everything goes easy first time, especially when you're filming. So let's try again. There's one. Now it's very important at this point that you remember not to do these screws up tight. You need to do all four just enough that they will hold the metal in place, but still allow you to move it with your fingers if you need to. I will explain the reason for that in a minute, but it is very important. It's just a little too tight. Okay. And then 4. Okay, now here's where things start to change a little bit. What we're going to do at this point is just put in the plastic clip down this side. Do you remember the clip that we pulled out with our fingers? If I can just find that, right there. We're going to push that in, find its hole that it goes into, and then clip it in place. Then on the other side round here, we're just going to put one screw in place there. Now the reason for this is we've removed a piece of the metal bodywork and it's designed to line up with the rest of the car. Because we've moved it, it may not line up anymore. So what we're going to do at this point is reconnect the battery, bring the hood fully down into position, and then pop the headlights down into their closed position. So I may cut this at this second while I just do those 3 things. Okay, so with the hood down now, you can see that we've got a slight lip on the light cover here. You can see a gap under there. Now, depending on how accurately you got this together, it may or may not be in position. And we've got another one there. So what we're going to do now is use our plastic trim tool just to get under the edge of the cover there and just lift it up slightly. Because you left the screws loose, you can easily get under here and just position it where it should be. So everything lines up as it would when it came from the factory. That all feels pretty good now. Just a little bit on this corner here. Okay, I'm struggling a bit with this. I need a second tool, if you can bear with me. Found that as I'm lifting one side, the other side's going down, so this should help me to get it into place. Okay, that feels pretty good. Now we can put the lights back up. And now we remove this screw on the side again. And I forgot to put the bonnet back up. So now we have access to this side again. Pop your clip back out, allow that to drop. And now we can tighten up all 4 screws. Watch you do not move that cover. Now it's in the correct position. Do them up nice and tight, enough that it won't move again or rattle around, but not so tight that you can't get them undone again if you ever need to. That's those 4. Now we come back round this side, and now with this middle section you've got the screw around the side here to put back in. And now we can finish the assembly. Bring this cover up. Put your little plastic clip back in to hold it in place. Go to the opposite side first, bring the cover up into place and put the screw in. Again, don't do this up too tight. You're screwing plastic into plastic and you don't want to crack it. Just enough to stop it rattling around. Now I do happen to know that with age this plastic has started to warp, so don't be too concerned that it doesn't fit perfectly round the edges as it would have done when it was new. And one final one round the back, and for this I use a shorter screwdriver. Okay, so that's the job complete. So I hope, Billy, that explains exactly what you needed to know, and that you'll be able to do the job yourself now and save yourself a fortune in garage bills, because often they really do overcharge for some of these really simple jobs. If you would like me to complete a video to do with anything on these cars, please make sure you contact me. I need to know your name and ideally the location that you've come from, even if it's just the country. And then that helps other viewers to know a bit about the people around the world and what they're interested in as well. Now at this stage I'm sticking to DIY type videos. In future videos, long into the future, when all the basics are done, we're going to start moving on to the more technical stuff. But at this point, this is just to save the average man at home a lot of money in doing simple-ish tasks that seem quite difficult. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Please remember to like if you have. It's nice to get some feedback. Don't forget to subscribe. There are lots and lots of videos coming in the future which will cover everything you ever needed to know about these cars and how to work on them yourself. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.